Hello, I'm Iona Ballantyne and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Wednesday the 15th of October. And a new name enters the frame for Rangers.
When it's a big club like Rangers, it's always amplified, isn't it? So it's no surprise in the last couple of hours people have been furiously updating about who is all but got the job. Kevin Muscat, the name being thrown forward.
Former Rangers defender Kevin Muscat has appeared as a new front runner for the Rangers job. And it seems that the club are keen to make an appointment soon.
I sense an urgency, having spoken to a number of sources. I think they know that after Steven Gerrard ruled himself out, there has been a clamour for information, not just from the media, but from the Rangers fans as well.
And we'll discuss the latest from Ibrox, and it's as thrilling and topsy-turvy in the Championship as ever.
Jamie Murphy, he's just got a hold of the ball, just placing it down at the moment. Up he comes, little stutter, puts it into the back of the net, down to the keeper's right hand side, 2-0 and well deserved for Ayr United.
We'll guide you around the state of play in the lower leagues.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Well, join us this morning, Craig Telfer, a view from the Test presenter, and I imagine you're enjoying the look of League One at the moment, Craig.
Oh, it's excellent. Yes, Dennismuir absolutely flying. All's well in the world. I've got a crack in my bathtub, which is a little bit annoying, but other than that, everything is going fantastic.
Is that related to Stenhousemuir's performance?
I hope that's not a metaphor for anything, or certainly an indication that bad things are on the horizon. But other than the bathtub, everything is going well.
I hope not, Craig. And also Scott Allen here with us, former Celtic and Hibs midfielder, now East Kilbride coach. And a similar sentiment for you in League Two.
Yeah, it's obviously been a decent start for us, and that's the first quarter done now. So back to, I think, with Elgin on Saturday, and we obviously had that KDM trophy at the weekend as well. We managed to get a last minute winner, so we are just looking to improve quarter by quarter. See how we come the end of the season.
Well, it wouldn't be a Scottish football podcast this week without some chat on the Rangers manager hunt. Kevin Muscat has appeared as the new leading candidate. Craig, is that a surprise?
No, it's not a surprise. I think Kevin Muscat was interviewed for the job a couple of years ago. They opted to give it to Philippe Clement instead. But certainly it's an interesting person to go for. I think Muscat's had a lot of success in Australia, a lot of success in China, on the cusp of clinching, I think, a second Chinese title, Super League title with Shanghai Port. I think the kind of football he wants to play is the kind of football I think Rangers need to be playing if they want to break down teams with a bit more ease. It's just the difficulty is he's got this, as I mentioned, they're on the cusp of winning the title, so I think he's got another month or so till the end of the campaign before he'd be able to join Rangers, and that's just time that Rangers really don't have to waste at the moment. So if they do go for him, I think it could be a good appointment on paper, but it's just that those 4 weeks they need to wait. Some big games coming up on the horizon.
Scott, should he be appointed? Is he not just the right type of manager but person for this job?
I think for me, the fact that he's proved he can be successful and win things, I think that's obviously a big plus in terms of coming to a club like Rangers. So he has demands and he's been in situations where he's fighting for titles. I think in terms of his style of play, it is a lot more aggressive. How that, to be fair, Russell Martin was meant to be that way as well. It's generally how you can come to a club like Rangers and really implement that, because you do come up against certain styles that you might struggle to break teams down, as Craig says. The question now for me is, do they have the players who can really break teams down when the going gets tough? The biggest thing that's been questioned to this Rangers team since the start of the season is mentality. So how does Kevin Muscat then build that mentality into winning games at a time in the where it's difficult? You're trying to change that in a very short space of time. Obviously, he might not be appointed until, I think, 3 or 4 weeks down the line. Lots of names obviously getting thrown about. Obviously, Neil McCann, who I've previously worked with and know really well, he would be, I think, a potential to go in there for the next few weeks until he was maybe appointed. I think that sort of character might be good for Rangers at this time, but it's where the Rangers players are at this moment, where I think is the biggest thing in terms of, because mentality, that's all we've heard, and that came from the manager. We've also heard it from the players. How does a new manager in a short space of time turn that around and turn that into wins? That's, Rangers fans want wins now. They're 11 points behind the Hearts team, who don't look like they're letting up. So it's going to be really interesting. An appointment who's obviously been linked with that job many a times. Guy's played for the club, but most importantly, he's won things. So I think it would be an exciting appointment.
Do you think Craig Hay is the type of manager too that can win the fans over, especially at this moment in time?
Well, certainly he's got a decent pedigree. He played for Rangers for a season in the early 2000s. Very successful time at Rangers as well. Won a treble with them. And certainly as a player, probably one of the dirtiest players that's ever kicked a ball in the last 30 years. I mean, just go and look at his Wikipedia page and read the list of the stuff that's under his reputation. So I think he's certainly quite a hard, no nonsense kind of manager. But I think as well as his personality as a player, I think he's been able to channel that into something a lot more positive as he's a manager. But as Scott says, it's all very well going in there and giving players the quote unquote hairdryer treatment. The players at Rangers seem quite soft, and I think that's perhaps a big issue. You can go in there and you can shout at them and you can try and cajole them, but if the players just aren't tippling to that, then I don't know what you do. It feels like Scott said, they're already 11 points off Hearts. It feels though at this stage of the season, we're not even a third of the way through it. It feels like it's a bit of a write-off for Rangers, and it's just about just getting to January, try to ship out some of the players, turn them over, and get to the summer and make big changes. So it feels like, again, another transitional season for Rangers.
Well, Scott, as Craig mentioned, he has won titles in Australia, Japan and China. Do you think that will equip him for the presses at Rangers?
I don't think there's a lot of things that can equip you for just for just how it is in Glasgow with either side of the Old Firm. I just don't. I think what he does have in his favour though is, I think his playing style, and that was some sentence by the way for Craig, the dirtiest player of the last 30 years. I think for me, I think you know what you're coming into. I think you obviously lots of experiences. You'll be talking to lots of people. You got to understand he would have seen exactly what's happened with Russell Martin's tenure. So for me, it's about coming in. You got to be aggressive. And I know everybody keeps saying that, but that vulnerability is there with these players. That's the biggest question. We can all sit and say you've got this sort of CV and you're going to be this sort of character, but it's how you can get the best out of the players you've got. We don't quite know if some of the players are better than what we've seen so far this season. That's going to be his biggest challenge, what he can get out of the players at his disposal at this moment in time. Yes, they wouldn't have been players that he's signed, but in the current landscape of football, that's how guys are getting jobs now. They get players given to them and they need to work with them and see how they can get the best of them, best formation, best shape and best sort of way to win games of football. So that'll be the challenge for Kevin Muscat.
Well, Craig, talking about his character as a player, would you expect the same from him as a manager here?
Well, I think I said that there. Apparently, he's less hot-headed as a manager than he was as a player, which I suppose for everyone involved that's a very good thing. I suppose though it's that aggression. Yeah, I mean but he was successful with it as well to an extent. He played in England for long spells. And I don't think you get to the kind of career he has. It's not just an aggression alone. There's a degree of talent in there as well. And I think that by having coached around the world, Australia, China, Japan, a stint in Belgium, you soak all that stuff up. You soak up all the different cultures. You soak up all the different sort of different football philosophies, and I'm keen to see if he can channel that into Rangers. It's been said loads of times, but he's followed in the footsteps of Ange Postecoglou. I think he replaced him in Japan and then replaced him in Australia. And Ange Postecoglou came to Scotland and was particularly successful there. So if he's on a similar kind of mould to that, I'm sure Rangers fans would be very happy.
I think as well, Craig, environment really decides how you are on the touchline. I don't think you cannot compare Australia.
No, that's a fair point.
China to the hotbed of what it's like playing for Rangers and Celtic. That will be the interesting thing in terms of him and how he obviously wants to develop as a coach. But environment really decides whether you're hot-headed on the touchline or not, and that'll be part of the challenge for him.
I'm sure it was Alex McLeish that didn't select him for Old Firm games because he couldn't be trusted to contain himself. So certainly, if he does get hired by Rangers, sparks will fly, emotions will run high. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Because, like you say, Scott, that is a huge change of culture coming from China to Ibrox.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. As I say, his environment. It's what he can then create with this Rangers team in the environment, because it's no getting away from it. Rangers players at this moment in time are under huge pressure to perform and win games of football, and that's what I said. That his challenge is to get the best out of them in a team who's no question had a real fragility about them since the start of the season, and that's not as if we're making that up. The manager said it, and the players have said it.
It'll be very interesting to see what comes from Ibrox next. Let's turn our attention to the Championship. St Johnstone still unbeaten at the top, but another draw on Saturday at home to Ross County. Craig, would you say that other teams are figuring them out?
You know something, there actually could be an element of that. That's 2 consecutive 0-0 draws. They drew with Ayr United previously, they drew with Ross County here, and I think it's the first time in a long time where St Johnstone have had teams sitting deep against them, trying to frustrate them, trying to stop them from playing, and that's exactly what Ross County did. I think that I was a bit disappointed with Ross County because St Johnstone had players missing. You know, Adama Sidibe was away on international duty, Uchek Piezu was on international duty, Stevie Mallon's out injured at the moment, so there was St Johnstone. I don't want to say they were there for the taking, but you'd have a better chance to beat them. But Ross County just wanted to time waste and spoil and basically stop St Johnstone from playing. And in the aftermath, Tony Docherty, Ross County manager, said, you know, you come to the league leaders and you get a point. It's a good result. So I'd say figured out. I'm not sure, but teams are seeing St Johnstone the way that teams in the Premiership are seeing Rangers and Celtic. Sit deep with a low block and say to them, listen, come down and break us down. We saw on the opening day of the season, Partick Thistle tried to go toe-to-toe with them, lost 5-1, and there's Ayr United, Ross County, sitting very deep, difficult to contain, and 2 0-0 draws. So that's a challenge for Simo Valakari now, is how you can try to break these sides down.
Still in a good position, though, at the start of the season. I mean, if you were to put money on it now, Scott, would St Johnstone be your likely winners?
They wouldn't be, but I wouldn't. First of all, I wouldn't be putting money on it. I think for me, I do think they probably get the best. I think they're probably the most coached team in the Championship in terms of how they want to play. I think obviously the start of the season that you speak about, very good. Stevie Mallon, someone who I played with, has real quality, especially for that level. Wicked right foot. And they've got different sorts of profile of strikers up front that look to get you goals. I think it's just a challenge. I think with every team over the course of the season, you go through the periods where you might not pick up the points that you maybe think you want. But a draw with Ross County, it's not at the end of the day. Listen, seasons are won. Championships are won over the course of a season. So I don't think they'll be far away, but I do like the look of Partick Thistle as well. I think they've recruited well. Sean McCardle obviously going from Celtic, who I've seen him a few times, think he's a real talent. I think Mark Wilson's building something really good there at Partick Thistle. So I think it will be between those two. I think Ayr might start to pick up as well. As for Ross County, you look at obviously the amount of players they've brought in. There is real quality in that squad and experience. It just hasn't for one reason or another been the season that they maybe thought it was going to be. But the fact that they go to a club like St Johnstone and want to sit in and take the point kind of shows you what the rest of the league think of St Johnstone. So they would be favourites, but I think the Championship always surprises us at times.
It does always surprise us, because then you look at Ross County, they're starting to move up the table. Craig, do you think they're starting to find their form?
Well, that's the win against Wraith Rovers the previous week. I think that could have gone either way. I think that Wraith Rovers had 2 shots cleared off the line late on, and then Ross County go up the park in injury time and get that second goal. And then, as we mentioned, they're getting that 0-0 draw against St Johnstone. So yeah, the tanker is starting to turn, albeit very slowly. But there's too many good players in that team for them not to do well. If you go look through from back to front, that county side, there's a lot to like about them. There's a lot of experience there. There's some decent young players as well who can add pace and a wee bit of flair to the team. You've got Ronan Hale up front. I know he's perhaps not in the greatest of form at the moment, but he's just, I'd say, pound for pound the best striker in that division. So there's plenty to like about them. And on top of that, Tony Docherty, since coming in, he's been able to bring in, I think, 3 or 4 extra players. You know, I don't think any other side in the division have got the same advantages to be able to turn over the team to the same extent that he does. So it's been a slow start. I'm not sure if they're in the title picture at the moment, but I still would have them in the discussion to finish in the top 4 and challenge to get promotion.
But then taking all that into account, it could be a tricky trip to Partick Thistle this weekend for them, Scott.
Yeah, listen, as I said, I obviously touched on Partick Thistle a moment ago. I think Mark Wilson's done a fantastic job there. And the players, because no doubt when he took that job, there was a lot of questions looking at Partick Thistle, will he get backed? Will he get these sort of players in? They lost obviously Stuart Bannigan, who was a huge part of their midfield in terms of in the changing room, and obviously a leader on the park. But he's managed to recruit well. Some of the players that have come in have been excellent. So for me, Partick Thistle are in a good place. Sometimes it's easier to be the chaser, as they say. So they're just quietly going about their business and hopefully building confidence. So that'll be a good game coming the weekend.
Well, Ayr have moved up to the playoff spots, Craig. Do you think they've rediscovered their mojo?
I think so, yeah. I think there was a fair degree of expectation for Ayr United coming into this season. They've perhaps got the most high-profile manager in the division in Scott Brown. I think in the summer they had signed well, bringing guys like Dom Thomas and Kevin Holton. But the star player so far has been Mark McKenzie, a young guy who, a young guy, he's 25 now, but a guy who was part of the academy, came into the first team. He's got 4 goals in his last 4 matches. He's opened the scoring against Raith Rovers at the weekend with a well-taken finish. And I think that McKenzie's standing within that team has gone from sort of a fringe player, a guy who will just basically play anywhere he's told. If that's right back, centre back, midfield, up front, he'll just do what he's told. But with injuries to the likes of George Oakley and Anton Dowds coming back into the team after a long-term absence, McKenzie's playing as a centre forward and it's paying dividends for him. 4 goals for the season. His previous career best has been 5. So with players like him coming into form and you get Marco Roos and Jamie Murphy either side of him, that's a pretty decent attack. And then you've got Dom Thomas to come off the bench. You've got like Oakley, Dowds in the mix. There's a lot to like about this United team. So they're just, I think that's hitting a nice wee bit of form and entering that conversation for the top 4.
Raith Rovers, though, seem to have struggled for form for the past few weeks. Scott, what could that be down to?
It's a good question. Listen, Raith Rovers are a strange one. I think for some of the quality they have, I think when you do see them play, sometimes you think you could maybe play through some of the players. Obviously, Dylan Easton, for me, he's a real maverick. But I'm saying maverick, but he's got end product. He creates, he scores goals. Someone I really enjoy watching. Good experience in there as well with Paul Hanlon or Lewis Stevenson's. So there should be a team who you would expect to really push for playoffs come the end of the season. I feel sometimes when I go and watch, I've seen quite a bit of Raith Rovers. I think you could maybe get more out of some of the players that they do have, whether that's down to style of play or whatnot. That's maybe up for other people to decide what they would like to see. But I do feel there is quality within that team. But at just this moment in time, I think other teams are a lot stronger than them. I think Ayr United there, as Craig touched on, sometimes in a season it just takes a wee purple patch to go and put a run of wins together, and that can be the difference come the end of the season. So I think Raith Rovers will be looking to do something similar. And as I said, we're just going back. I know Raith St Johnstone, massive favourites because of the start they've had, but there's teams with players in that, if they go in that run, you could just never know, they might just nick it come end of the season.
Looking at Arbroath, Ryan Flynn said on the podcast last week that their game against Queen's Park was one of those that they judged their season on. They then came out with an impressive 4-1 win. Craig, they're really overperforming.
Yeah, I was actually at the game, and Ryan Flynn very kindly sorted me out with tickets for that game, so I'm very, very grateful to him. But the Arbroath's first half performance, that's as good as I've seen from any team this season. They were excellent. Queen's Park at periods just couldn't get the ball out their own half. And I think that particularly Arbroath's front players like Ryan Dow and Finlay Marshall, Gavin Riley was excellent. They were just, Queen's Park just didn't have an answer to them. And by the time the second half came around, it actually took that Queen's Park goal to try and suddenly jolt it into life because it was so comfortable for them. I just think that Arbroath, yes, it's going to be a long season for them, and I'm going to imagine they're going to fall away given the quality of some of the sides around them. But for the moment, you've beaten Queen's Park twice. You've already beaten Ayr Dronians. I think going into the season, you'd have seen that as a mini league in its own between these 3 teams. But Arbroath just looked like streets ahead of them. Queen's Park, I know Josh Fowler was missing for them, but Queen's Park just had nothing about them at all. I mean, Sean Crichton, speaking after the match, said it was like the poorest performance of the season. He said the performance could get in the bin, and I'd completely agree with him because we didn't really see much from them. But I think all credit to Arbroath, just from back to front, a lot to like about that team. Good experience, good players, and good profile, and good age of players as well. It's not just like old guys that have been around, older boys that have been around and done it. Like David Gold and Colin Hamilton are bringing some younger players to supplement them. There seems a real freshness and vibrancy at Arbroath, so they're in a good place. And on top of that, Gayfield looks absolutely fantastic. First time I've been there in a couple of years, and the hard work that's gone into make that place as nice as possible, but still retain its charm, which makes it such a great place to watch football. Loved it. Had a great afternoon.
Brilliant. It sounds like a brilliant one. And also Friday night in the Championship, Dunfermline host Wraith Rovers. Scott, a Fife derby. That sounds going to be a cracker.
Yeah, obviously between both sets of fans, it's probably their favourite game of the season. Dunfermline, Neil Lennon always brings a bit of character to the fixture. Obviously, Barry Robson and Rafe as well. I think they did manage to. I think that was a game last year under Michael Tidser. That was the end of Michael Tidser's reign. So yeah, it's a game which listen, Blood and Thunder, good Championship derby match. Well, everybody tunes in on Friday, but for me, I'm looking at Dunfermline. We've obviously got young Connor Young, who's came on loan from us. So it just shows you some of the quality they do have in their squad as well. So, like I said, I think that'll be a real cracker.
Exactly, like you say, a brilliant one to watch. Now, meanwhile, in League 1 and 2, Hamilton and Stenhousemuir level on points at the top of the league. How is the vertigo, Craig?
I wouldn't say it's vertigo. I think it's a team finding their level and being very comfortable in it. Yeah, it's great watching Stenhousemuir at the moment. Last time I was on the podcast, I was eulogising Gary Naismith and this group of players, and everything's just going in such a positive direction at the moment. That's 5 wins out of 5 in the KDM Evolution Trophy, qualified for the next stage, and we're playing Cove Rangers away on Saturday. I'm going to go up to that. It'll be the first time I've been to Balmoral Park, and it's not often that you go to take on a full-time team. You travel like nearly 3 hours to get there and think, yeah, I think we're going to win. But that's just the confidence that this manager and this group of players have given me. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. And as for Hamilton academically, a lot of stuff going on off the field. But I think John Rankin's perhaps underrated in what he's managed to do at Hamilton to try and keep all that noise at bay and just let the players get on with it, and they're getting on with it to a great extent. You know, I mean, they lost against Annan in the KDM Evolution Trophy, not great, but prior to that had beaten Inverness Caledonian Thistle 3-1, really difficult conditions, but the players showed a lot of character and a lot of spirit to dig out a win there. So yeah, going well, but I'm confident that Stenhousemuir can continue this strong run and finish high up the table as possible.
How much are you enjoying the season as a fan?
That's brilliant. It's brilliant. You know, coming into this campaign, we were told there'd been budget cuts and the team would struggle to bring in the household names relative to the level. So I was a bit concerned about that. But it's just been great. It's been great. You go there along every Saturday. There's a group of guys you're proud of representing your team, guys that have been there a number of years as well. So you've built up that connection. It's just great. It's just great watching. That's what everyone wants from the watching a team, to be proud and looking forward to the Saturday. And I'm pleased to say that's the case with my team at the moment.
Scott, in terms of League 2 and East Kilbride, how would you assess the season so far?
I would say it's been a good start to the season. Obviously, this first quarter now, having played all the sides in the league, I think games maybe we should have won, in some games we would maybe have felt that we've took points that we maybe shouldn't have. I think it's just we're growing as a team. I think a lot of pressure is on us, obviously coming up, and obviously been made a lot of pundits and people have made us favourites. So listen, for us it's about taking each game, and it's a challenge in terms of some of the players, because a lot of the teams in League 2 are taking points off each other. And there's different challenges in terms of the profile of the teams you play. Or the Edinburgh City we played in, their manager was fantastic. To be fair, I spoke to him before and after the game, and he made it really difficult for us. Managed to come away with a point. So for me, first quarter, we're sitting second, but we're looking to really build on that now.
How has the step up from the Lowlands League been?
It's difficult for me to say. I obviously just new, obviously, to the coaching staff, but I think in terms of the level, you would expect it to be a little jump. You know, I mean, there's some really good teams in the Lowland League, and a lot of players do come from there, work their way through the leagues, and have had really good performances themselves. But I think it's a different expectation when you're now in the professional leagues of Scotland. They're getting away from those teams who have been in that league and have that know-how about them, and you can make it really difficult for you. You don't want the team coming up and come to play this certain type of brand of football, and they don't want to be outdone by that. So that has its challenges, and at the same time, players playing against you might look at that as a team. Say, I would fancy a bit of that. So performances maybe maybe do raise a little. So it's been interesting.
Right, well, that is all we have got time for this morning. And many thanks to Scott Allen and Craig Telfer, and thank you for listening. Now, remember, we're here with new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast bright and early every day. So to make sure you don't miss out, subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on in your phone. It is only Wednesday. A lot more can happen during the week in Scottish football. We will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
It's petty, it's ill-informed.
Are President Trump's cuts having an adverse effect on research?
It's pandemonium.
What number's that in the periodic table?
PD, number 47. I don't know.
I've done the shooting clays before. The longer you do it, the shorter obviously it gets.
When Craig said there he'd been shooting the clays, I imagined him out a back line. Somebody's washing, you know.
William Shatner, his secretary, contacted me to say, when Bill has a question now and again, can he contact you? And then one time he called me up and he wanted to know, David, what is a photon? I'm thinking, this is incredible. Captain Kirk wants to know what a photon is, you know.
I once met a guy who referred to a globe as a ball map. A ball map.
A ball map. Look at the ball map.
What we normally do is spin the ball map and we see where we go on holiday.
The Off the Ball podcast, available every Monday on BBC Sounds.